What's good, Hoof listeners? Welcome back to the Hoof Podcast as we recap week 4 of the NFL. Sitting here with Anthony, as always. What's going on, my man?
Oh, it's been an exciting week. We finally got to shut up those Dolphin fans for a little while. It's a long season, it's a big win. But man, that hype was way, way, way too much, coming into this game. And we were quiet, but we were confident. And it ended up being what most of us Bills fans hoped and thought it would be in terms of a win and the fashion of the win. Man, we're flying high for sure.
Yes. Yeah, these Sundays have been some of the easiest of my life, I think. When you blow a team out by 30 3 weeks in a row, it just makes things a lot easier in your life. Going to work Monday's easier. The Sunday evening's a lot easier. I'm getting more done around the house,
That's true. That is very true. I think Kathy would agree with you there that there's more getting done, and I've got all the projects going, and
I feel like somehow, some way, in the Buffalo, Rochester area, probably Syracuse too, in certain areas, the economy is just better. People are spending more. People are working harder.
You're happy, right? That's what happens when you're you're coming off the high. That's the name of a. That's the name of a strip club here.
Oh, yeah. Well, the name's catchy.
Paradise Found. Whoa, wait a minute.
Oh, yeah. Or heaven on earth.
Right?
Yeah. Anyway, we saw this Chris Brown clip from One Bills Live. And
yes.
He's going on a rant. You sent it to me, so correct you. But he's going on a rant. Arms are flailing up in the air. And he's calling out some of the callers in the offseason. They were saying, fire Sean McDermott.
Yeah.
He's basically telling them, I can't remember the sandwich quote. What was the sandwich quote?
Chew on that sandwich.
Chew on that sandwich.
At the end.
Yeah, basically, we have a good defensive-minded head coach in a league that a lot of people are down on the defensive-minded coaches.
Yeah.
But I definitely could not help but notice that you sound kind of like him. I was gonna say he sounds like you, but he's been in this game a lot longer.
In it. Yeah.
So I will credit him and say you sound a lot like him.
When we first got started, I mean, I don't know if my real voice sounds different than my podcast voice. I don't think so, but listening to the podcast was the first time you really listened to your own voice. And even I thought for a little while, like, wow, sounds like Chris Brown. Is that really my voice? And, I got that from a lot of people when we first started the show. I mean, what's it been? Almost 6 years now. So, I mean, yeah, I heard that a lot. Like, wow, you sound like Chris Brown. And my response always used to be, well, if you watch, I'm a lot more animated than Chris Brown is. Chris Brown usually calm, cool, collected,
right?
Very monotone, very much.
He's also he's a real nice guy. Yeah, you're very combative.
That's right. That's right.
That's what I love about you.
Absolutely. I mean, that's who I am. It's not like I'm picking a fight, but I'm certainly not afraid to tell you what I think, right? And with this clip, this was the first clip ever in the years and years that he's been doing Bills content that I've seen him get this animated, and it felt like it was genuine. It wasn't like an outburst just to get clicks like we see on ESPN and we talked about on our last show. But this was literally him just being like, 3 and 4 months ago, we had to deal with people who were stupid enough to say, fire Sean McDermott. And that was ridiculous then. And now it's showing you that now. How do you feel about it now? That was literally what he said. How are you feeling now? You wanted to fire this guy 4 months ago because of stupid stuff. I mean, a bad playoff loss. Yeah. But I just absolutely love
a lot of great coaches. A lot of great coaches are in a similar boat with Sean McDermott. Like Sean Payton made the playoffs for years, didn't get to a Super Bowl. Still considered one of the best coaches around, right?
Right.
Mike Tomlin taking a lot of heat right now. I think his first losing season was last year. To get into the playoffs is not enough anymore, it seems like, for certain fan bases. And I just hope the Bills don't become that because, I mean, it's night and day different. Since Sean McDermott walked in the door, it's been night and day different.
Consistency, winning. The expectation is winning now. And that's a great expectation to have. And he's got to live up to that. But you also got to understand circumstances, and come the playoffs, there's a lot of luck involved, all sorts of things. It has to go our way. I agree. But you're not going to fire the dang guy who brought you from the pit of despair to winning ways every single week, right? I mean, there's nothing he could do to get fired. I remember saying that 3-4 years ago when ESPN had the articles coming out saying coaches most likely to be fired, and Sean McDermott was on the list. And I said, Sean McDermott just took the Bills to the playoffs for the first time and broke the curse. He could literally not win a game this season, and he's not getting fired because he's totally changed the culture and he's still rebuilding the team. So it was just ignorance, right? That's when I tweeted the Chris Brown video. That's what I said. This is how animated we should all be when it comes to shooting down ignorance. Just like last when we talked about Stephen A. Smith on ESPN saying that Tua was a rising quarterback and now he's the elite in the NFL and Josh Allen is falling.
Yes, it's very, very narrow-sighted.
Absolutely ignorant. Yeah. He doesn't watch the games. He doesn't understand the team. He doesn't even watch that much football. He just came up with something he thought would be clickbait, right? And it was. It got attention, got my attention, so he won there. But it's just frustrating to hear such stupidity. And I've never been afraid to call it out when I think it's wrong, right? So
for sure.
And I'm not afraid to, face the music when I am wrong. That's for dang sure. We're going to probably talk about at least one of those, aren't we? Huh?
Right. It kind of comes with the job. You put your opinions out there. You're going to hit on some. You're
Absolutely.
going to, miss on some, but your opinion's your opinion. Right. And that's why I think our show's good. And that's why I listen to a lot of NFL Bills podcasts around, right? Because that's what you want to hear. But anyway, just wanted to touch on the defensive head coach thing just a little bit. I mean, it's funny that it seems like we're in a new league now where offensive mind and great quarterback, we can say, is the new model to win in the NFL. Kansas City, Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes, right? We got Matt Stafford, Sean McVay won a Super Bowl, Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor have been there recently. But again, if we just go back a little bit, and that may be true, and it's really, we haven't seen anything other than that the last few seasons, 3 or 4 seasons, right?
Sure.
So hard to disprove that argument. But if you go back and look, when you have a great quarterback, that's absolutely a requirement. And I'm thinking of like Bill Belichick, Tom Brady.
Sure.
That relationship works so good because Bill, would handle the defense, and Tom Brady basically is running the offense.
Exactly.
I would think. And I think we have a little bit of that here in Buffalo, where I've heard this term many times through press conferences. It's not real obvious, but it comes out. It's Josh's offense. Right? The continuity they've had allows him to learn that system to an advanced level. He's had the same receivers now for 3 or 4 seasons. I mean, that it just gets better and better and more advanced every single year. Ken Dorsey's been there less time than Josh Allen. So really, you don't need an offensive head coach. You know what I mean? I think Sean McDermott certainly handles the defense, and that relationship works extremely well.
And I'll take that a step further and flip it a little bit. Ready? So what I mean is today's NFL, and what you mentioned at the beginning was the quarterbacks and coaches who have won recently and how that seems to be very dynamic route to the Super Bowl, and that's what everybody's doing. Well, the reason for that is the shift in rules in the NFL away from hard-nosed defenses, right? The Chicago Bears, Bad News Bears, even the Ravens is a team that I think of as, the Ray Lewis and those guys, that defense, that would fly in the NFL today. Those guys would be getting flagged every play, right? For illegal contact, for roughing, for all these calls that, are added that are more enforced now for player safety, whatever you want to say. That's today's NFL now, right? It is more beneficial to the offensive player than the defensive player for sure in the last 10, 15 years. Now, so with that makes being a defensive coach harder because you can't rely on just this guy hits hard or this guy does that. We're going to rely on those guys. No, you actually have to coach your players to play the best they can. And in that sense, Sean McDermott is the best defensive coach right now, the best head coach who is defensive minded because he's able to do that. His defenses have been consistent throughout. Leslie Frazier was part of that. Now he's not. And Sean McDermott is doing even better, it seems, now that he's the one calling the plays again. We saw he was able to do that with Carolina when he was a coordinator, and now as a head coach, he's proving it and taking it a step further. To me, that gives him more credit being the defensive guru rather than the offensive guru. Offensive guru is easier to do these days. You got to get creative. Sure, you got to know your guys in your system.
Right.
But yes, it's still, if everything's even, it's benefiting the offense, right?
And we've seen innovation from Sean McDermott on defense, right?
Yes.
Buffalo nickel, what Taron Johnson's been doing for this defense. He's been on the field consistently 70 to 75% of the time, the past 3 or 4 seasons. Matt Milano's development. We can talk about Terrell Bernard and the start he's had so far, being an undersized linebacker,
right.
Traditionally undersized, but with the new defenses in the NFL, in today's NFL, you got to be more finesse. You got to be faster. Like the speedy linebackers are going early in the draft, the Roquan Smiths of the world. So I think Sean McDermott's done a great job of developing those players to the new rules and the new system. And he deserves a lot of credit. You'll never hear it in media, but the credit is just
scheme,
gotta be there.
Defensive scheme. Think about the offenses that were unstoppable of the last few years. The one that comes to mind is the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson at quarterback. Nobody could stop them. They faced Buffalo. We shut them down. I think we held them to like 16 points when they had been scoring 30-something all year long. Nobody knew how to stop the run game and the tight ends and the short passes. Sean McDermott stopped that. He was the head coach. Leslie Frazier was the defensive coordinator. He stopped that, and the other teams followed suit. They watched the Bills tape and said, this is how you stop this offense, right? Miami, we heard that this is an all-world comparison to the Rams offense back in the day. All this stuff that was just way overhyped. And Sean McDermott said, great, think about this as a revolutionary offense, his words, revolutionary offense that they shut down, right? I mean, they scored 20 points, 3 touchdowns, and 2 of them were on their first 2 drives. They got 6 points the whole rest of the game, 3 quarters, right? That is remarkable for an offense like that. Sean McDermott has a track record of shutting down these all-world unbeatable offenses. So you can't deny that he is one of the best coaches in the NFL. And we talked about it in the offseason when those, ranking head coaches came out and they put Sean McDermott at like 22. They had all these guys ahead of him who didn't belong there. Daboll was like number 8. Like, come on. Yeah, he did great his first season, but he has shown nothing yet. Sean McDermott has a consistent track record of doing well in every sense of the word. No matter what standards you were measuring by, Sean McDermott would be in the top 10. Yeah. So things like that are just looking even more and more stupid, and we're going to continue to call them out. But Sean McDermott needs to get the respect he deserves. Don't forget that there were 2 seasons, not one, but 2 seasons he should have won head coach of the year. And he didn't because there were other storylines that won it, right? Vrabel was one of them, I think, and I can't remember who the other one was, but it should have been Sean McDermott. He had the best season as a coach of the year. He brought the Bills to the playoffs. And then it was, when it was the who was it? One of the teams who made the playoffs for the first time.
Last season, he should have been, going through what they went through with the snow games, having to move the team and going in there and winning.
How many years is this guy going to be second place for coach of the year? Nobody does that. Usually
they also won, they won 13 games last year. Yeah. I mean, you had the DeMar Hamlin situation. I mean, that so much. To me, I was shocked he didn't win coach of the year last year.
Yes, and this year he probably won't either. Why? Because it's all about the wins and you did what people expected, even though 90% of the media picked the Jets or Miami to win the division. Like, come on, that's disrespect.
Right, it's almost like false narratives, right? Because the Bills just keep showing up and keep doing it. So it's like,
exactly.
What more do you need? Anyway, let's get into the content here. Okay, huge day for the Bills offense. 5 touchdowns on the day for Josh Allen. Probably one of the best Bills performances on offense that I've seen. And that's saying a lot because we've seen a lot of good ones.
Yes.
But because this was a hyped game, because the Miami Dolphins looked unstoppable, for the Bills to come out and match that intensity and really outperform the Miami Dolphins on offense, that was very impressive to me. So this one's going to stick out in our memories for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I just got to say it, man. Like, we're watching the John Elway of our day with Josh Allen. I said John Elway a lot just because the strong arm, everyone sees him as an athlete. It's just, he goes off script in certain plays, but still makes a great play. I mean, it's just impressive. His arm talent is just impressive.
Almost every drive, he made it look easy in this game. Yeah. It looked like he was doing everything he wanted to do. Even when the pressure came, he just casually ran it in for a touchdown, right? So it was just easy for him. And that is what stood out. John Elway comparison, sure. I would go as far as to say there is no comparison, right? Who you going to Aaron Rodgers' arm plus John Elway's this plus this guy's that. He is Josh Allen. And we know that sometimes he has a bad game, just like any quarterback would. But that doesn't mean that's who he is all of a sudden. The narrative for him was he throws too many interceptions. Watch the tape from last year. He did not throw a lot of interceptions. He got unlucky on a lot of his interceptions that were tipped or batted or whatever. Has he made bad decisions? Yes, every quarterback does, like I said. But that's not the right narrative on Josh Allen, is that he is too risky and throws too many interceptions, right? Now he's learning and adapting and getting better, as he's done literally every year in the NFL with something, right? His accuracy. Oh, he had 5,000 yards, but he can't be accurate. Oh, now he's got a 75. It's even more than that right now. It's like his last 2 games, 85+% of passes. That's insane. So they said he couldn't be accurate with the pass. Now he's accurate with the pass, right? Now it's, he couldn't slide, or he gets too risky in certain situations. Now he's learning to adapt to that. So he just keeps getting better at these things. And that is going to lead to a successful career regardless. He's going to be an absolute NFL legend, no matter what happens the rest of his career. I mean, he's going to do well. We expect he will win multiple Super Bowls, but it's going to be
seen.
His legacy is going to speak for itself when it's all said and done. And this game is certainly part of a perfect passer rating, 4 passing touchdowns, 9 receivers catching balls, a rushing touchdown. I mean, he literally did it all. And like you said, it was easy watching. It's not like he took a sack. That was one of my favorite plays, believe it or not. He just went, and instead of trying to do something stupid, he just was like, okay, took the sack, went on to the next play, didn't let it get in his head, didn't come up all frantic, just got up and said, all right, and boom, got a first down, and then the next play, right? So it was nothing. It was phenomenal to watch Josh Allen at his best. And I say that because I'm not sure what would have been better. We had to take him out in the 4th quarter again with 10 minutes left. Don't forget, the Bills could have easily scored 70 if they wanted to, but they didn't need to, and teams don't do that in the NFL.
Right. And I think a lot of it too is something I'd like to look at is how our defense is playing Josh Allen this year. You know, our football knowledge doesn't go that deep, so we had to bring on the experts, but you know, it seems like there's the 2 high safeties for a long time.
Correct.
You know, the film that I did watch for this game, it didn't seem like that was all the time. You know, they were dropping down a lot, and I think that's more because the Bills now have what we would call a complete offense. I know there's a lot of football to be played, right? But it looks like the offense for the Bills is complete. You have the underneath targets and Knox and Kincaid. You have the deep targets, obviously, with Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs. You have a run game with Latavius Murray, Damian Harris, and James Cook, who's also another wide receiver. He's one of the best catching running backs in the NFL. So I mean that to me just seems you can't play two high safeties the whole time, because Josh will just dump it down underneath. So they're bringing those safeties down to guard that, and then that's why you're seeing maybe some far throws. That's what it looks like. Got to bring the expert on to verify.
Taking what the defense gives you, right? That's what he's been doing. Those small passes have been productive as heck in this offense. Why? Because he knows, all right, drop 7, right? Then I'm just going to dunk it off to the running back or to the tight end, and they're going to go for 9 yards right here, right? And he can still say, okay, 12 personnel. What do you think we're running the ball? Oh, we're going to dunk it off to somebody who's going to get 9 to 12 yards. And he's making it look so easy. He sees that decision and he makes it. I think one of the things I saw watching Tua in this game versus watching Josh Allen, after all the comparisons, right? Tua really struggled to come away from that first read. And that's been what people said on him, but you could feel it. You could see it live in this game. At least I could. And again, I'm no like tape expert or anything, but you could see that as soon as he had to think about not going to that first guy, he was looking all over and kind of panicking a little bit and not doing well. His success, when he can get that ball out quick, going to that first guy, boom, he's one of the top elite. There's no question about it. But when he has to come off that read, he's flustered and can't do it.
Yeah,
Josh Allen just sees the whole field, it seems. He's looking over here, and then he says, you know what? Nobody's open over there. Zing, he's open over there, right? And without even looking, he just has a feel for the game that is important when you're leading your team and you don't want to make those mistakes.
And he's the unicorn. How many quarterbacks are better off script than on script? Not many. There's one hand you could count those, right? And Josh Allen,
but I would argue
one of those guys.
Even in this game, it was more on script than off script. There were still a couple of off script plays. Don't get me wrong. That's still what Josh Allen is better than any quarterback at,
Yeah.
I would say. But the on-script plays were on point today in this game, right? So it was phenomenal to watch because it didn't matter if the first guy was covered. Oh, that was the read. Well, this guy's open.
Yeah.
And it was still part of the play. It wasn't rolling out, trying to find the guy, let's panic, and then throwing it, right? It was
it is
beautiful.
It is hard to tell if Josh Allen's on script or off script in certain plays because, I mean, for example, the Diggs touchdown where he broke 2 tackles, scored the touchdown, that's thrown from the right hash.
Yeah.
That's across the field all the way to the, the boundary. And it's like, that doesn't seem like it would be dialed up, but when you have arm talent, like Josh Allen, why not dial something like that up? Yeah. Another one, the Khalil Shakir drop. Basically the safety's playing
on his
wide there, and it's like he still gets the ball in between 2 defenders. Drop.
Beautiful.
What a throw that was. Hit him right in the face.
1 of 4 incompletions, and it was a drop.
Is that on script? I don't think that's a script play. That's an off script play, I would assume.
I don't know. That was the route.
Will we ever know? Will we ever know while not being in the...
He wasn't flustered about it, So, but the point being, it's not all on these. He's only able to be magic on off script plays, right? And yes, shout out to Stephon Diggs because 3 of those touchdowns were to Diggs, and Diggs had a hell of a day. But at this day, that's just like butter on toast. It just goes, right?
And you can tell the Miami defenders look defeated, right? Diggs just making them look silly all day.
Yes.
They look defeated there. So anyway, okay.
Props.
That was a great gush session. So thanks for that. But
that's my quarterback.
But like you said, 9 different receiving targets.
Yeah, crazy. It's awesome.
Like, 2 of those are running backs, Latavius Murray, and obviously James Cook. 2 of those are tight ends, so they're just moving the ball all over the offense. Yes. So that's what you like to see. It's been effective on all phases, and that's what you like to see on offense. So huge day. Can it get better from here? Definitely be paying attention, but we definitely love what we're seeing on offense. All right. Got our gush session out. We had to move this to the second segment because we wanted to start hot. Well, got to get through it, right? Trey White. I don't know if this was officially confirmed, but the fear was tore his Achilles, right? So that was officially confirmed, I guess, this week. You hate to see it. And really the reaction from Trey White on the field was what was like killer for me, a fan. You could tell that the team was really upset, and you can tell that he means a lot to them, and you saw that in the field. So that's some of the reasons you love football, right? The rally around the guy, but definitely to see a leader go out like that, he just crushes you.
Yeah, especially he's coming off his injury, ACL, that he was out for a year plus, and just getting back to himself, just having 2 really big games, and it all falls apart for him. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, when I first saw it, everyone in the room saying it's his ACL again, re-injury, right? I don't know if, I'm not real sure how often you could or what the risk is to re-tear an ACL, but everyone at our house thought
comes back stronger.
The ACL,
well, I could see when he got up, when they replayed it, his foot dropped like that and was dangling. And that's when I knew it was probably the Achilles, and it was like, wow, okay. I think it's even the opposite leg as the ACL, but it's, either way, it doesn't matter. It's just coincidence, a result of football on the field, right? You never know when something like that's going to happen.
Yep.
It's just the way he landed, the way his foot moved, the way he's been working it, whatever. Strength and conditioning is huge. This is why you hear those things. You and I could go out and play football, but why we would much more likely to be injured because we're not working those parts of our body.
Sure.
And we're not as young as we used to be either. But still, the point is that it can happen to anybody, and it's just
the older you get, the more risk there is too, right?
Yeah, and now with 2 injuries like this, and having went through what he went through to come all the way back, I don't know what his future holds. I certainly hope he chooses to play football again and works his way back, and maybe he should go to the same surgeon that Aaron Rodgers did, because all we're hearing from that is he's going to be back in 9 months from this miraculous new method of surgery.
Get in that dark room, take your mushrooms.
But I just hope, it's just the sad, for it to happen to any player would be sad. For it to happen to a guy like Trey White, who is all positive, all fun, a leader on the team, a leader of a person, and somebody who's just went through this and is coming back, it's devastating. There's no other word for it. It's devastating.
Yeah. He's currently under contract until 2026. Last year, 2025.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think they would give him the opportunity to come back just because of what he means to the locker room.
Sure, I expect
he's
that
a
too.
Bean McDermott guy. Their first draft pick back in 2017. I mean, and it sounded like just in the press conference, which I know there's discussions that have probably happened since then, but it sounds like they want to give him a chance to come back.
Absolutely.
And the first thing McDermott says, he'll rebound.
Now, this is in my mind, that's not a question on the Bills' end. It's a question on Trey White's end. We know how much he struggled to come back from the ACL. If he says, you know what, I don't want to go through this all over again, then I wouldn't blame him. You can't blame the guy. And if that's what he chooses to do, fine. I certainly hope we see him on the field again, maybe even next year at this time. So best wishes to him, man. And I hope that Bills Mafia finds a way to support him. I know people have started donating to his charity, which is something we do very well as Bills Mafia. And that is one thing to do. But even that, I just hope he feels the love and support and will continue to be embraced by the community as he goes through a trying time all over again.
Fair. Yeah. And we'll definitely be paying attention. You'll be rooting for him. And yeah, you hope he's ready to go again next year, and we'll give it a shot again because he has come back fully, has been effective for the defense, did have the one interception. So he looks like the Trey White of old, but we're not going to see that through, and it just tears you up a little bit. All right, but what does this mean for the cornerback room? You got Dane Jackson, Christian Benford now probably moved to the 1. I think from what we've seen in previous weeks, it looks like Dane Jackson gets to go. Obviously, they'll line it up per game plan or things like that. I thought I saw Cam Lewis.
Yep.
As well, and we still have not seen Kaiir Elam yet.
Well, Kaiir Elam was inactive for this game, so that kind of stunk because Benford got hurt, and then somebody had to go out there, but Benford ended up going back in, which was good.
Now, you think Elam's inactive because he doesn't contribute to special teams as much as these other depth players?
Yes, I mean he's the 4th boundary corner, right? That's what I mean. When you're 4th on that depth chart, you're not going to be active, and you don't play special teams, right?
Right.
Now, there's no question he'll be active, right? It doesn't mean he's going to play much, but he'll be active. And maybe they do that. What I said going into this Dolphins game, there was a lot of hype about activating Elam. And I said, it's not going to happen. And everybody's like, no, but he's good at man-to-man and you got to man-to-man them.
Right.
I'm like, no, it's not going to happen because that's not what Sean McDermott does. And we had this conversation on the show. Sean McDermott is sticking to his guys and says, this is how we play and we're going to adapt to them. Sure. But we're going to play with the guys we got. And this is why, because they run the defense that we want to run the best way. And that's why they're starting, right? So in that sense, that's why Elam wasn't in. Now you might have to change it a little. You lose a guy to the level of Trey White, a top corner in the league. You have to become more versatile. And not to take away from Dane Jackson, right? He came in and played well. He had a big hit, but he's not going to play to the level of Trey White. And maybe that means working in a game plan with, okay, situationally, we're going to put Elam here or Dane Jackson there. And Benford now, like you said, we don't truly have a number 1 cornerback. It's more like positionally, whatever.
Right.
Benford will be in there most of the snaps, I would assume. And then it's going to be Elam and Dane Jackson working their way in. And we don't know what the Bills are going to do roster-wise. You still need to have another cornerback, I think, on the ready, either inactive now, taking the Elam spot or whatever it may be. So whether that means calling up one of the guys on the practice squad or finding a veteran, my guess would be bring up the practice squad and let Elam work his way in. We've seen Elam be successful and do things.
Sure.
He had too many penalties or whatever, but we know he can do, and he didn't win the starting job, but we know he can be effective at least, which gives you some peace of mind that you still have 3 cornerbacks.
Some good plays.
Right. It gives you some peace of mind that you at least have 3 cornerbacks you can work with. No longer the level of Trey White, but certainly still effective. And, it doesn't mean it's not a huge step back for the defense. This is what our coach does best. We just lauded Sean McDermott. You're talking about a 6th-round pick, an undrafted guy, and, a 1st-round pick who was benched behind those 2. So now I think we're going to see just a little bit of a shift in philosophy there and working it so that you can be dynamic the way you want to be with the guys you have. And hopefully that doesn't lead to, I still challenge teams to attack them. Go ahead. Attack our cornerbacks. I would love that because it usually doesn't work out well for you.
But yeah, I would say, it's it'll be interesting. What good problems to have that you're a first round draft pick's your fourth corner.
Exactly.
That's pretty good problems to have. But I would assume it'd be game plan specific, as we've talked about. Teams with a good run game. You'd probably seen Dane Jackson. He's a great downhill tackler. Kaiir Elam seems to be probably better at playing the coverage in the air when the ball's at the high point. So that's definitely something to pay attention to. But I don't think it'll be a black and white solution. We're not going to see Dane Jackson every week. I don't think we see Kaiir Elam start every week, but we'll be interesting to see how they adjust and kind of attack this gap that they now have. Good things to have as well. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, get back out there. That experience helps over the top, right? So you can get a little help there too. But I think the Bills are in a decent spot, and I don't expect them to step back. And as long as Taron Johnson's healthy, they're going to be all right. All right. Let's have a little conversation about number 1 seed, because you can do those things when your team wins by 30 for 3 weeks in a row, right? Yes. We are now entitled to have this conversation in week 4 because of the way our team's been playing. Are the Bills alone at this point? We obviously know they're going to see Kansas City, but right now it seems like Buffalo's sitting, by themselves outside of Kansas City. Does that make sense? The Bengals have seemed to be fallen off. The Ravens, okay, I think they're still in that conversation, but don't seem to be dominant like a lot of people expected. And then, I was high on the Chargers. They seem to be hit or miss. When they hit, they're as good as anybody.
Should have lost last week.
We've seen a lot of misses too. So I think the Bills at this point, are they sitting atop the AFC? Your thoughts?
It depends on the focus you're saying. So yes, the Bills are the best team in the AFC right now, I think, without a doubt. Kansas City, they're good, but they're not as good as Buffalo right now. Not well-rounded, not as good on defense, not as good on offense. It's just that simple looking at these teams. Now, when they go head-to-head, we'll see what happens. But the Chiefs are still in the conversation of 1 seed, if that's what you're looking at, because 1 seed depends on your opponents. And although the Bills have a couple games, I think I saw something today that said their next 10 weeks is with opponents that do not have winning records. So, which means, they might be 500 or whatever, but they do not have winning records versus the long end stretch, which is, Philly, Dallas, all those tough teams are coming at us too. Right. So we have to be prepared for that stretch at the end of the year. And while Kansas City seems to be getting a lighter load here, right? They play the Broncos, right? They play the Chargers, who are disappointing. It just seems like every time we hype up these teams in their division, they just become easier for them to topple over, right? So it's not taking anything away from the Chiefs. Again, they're good. I do think the Bills are hands down better than the Chiefs, but they're definitely, the Chiefs will compete for that 1 seed in the AFC. Don't count out my Jaguars yet either, that I predicted would be the 1 seed. Again, just based on their schedule that they have moving forward.
That seems false at this point. We're seeing CJ Stroud shred teams. We're seeing
CJ Stroud,
Richardson,
my Houston Texans. CJ Stroud,
you're high on the Texans.
Remember, I've been high on the Texans all year.
Sure, but Anthony Richardson been dominating. So I fell for the Jaguars will be the easy schedule, easy street to the number 1 seed. But no, they have not stepped up to that.
No,
and these rookie quarterbacks look better than we thought they would be at this point. So, no more talk about that because I got the Jaguars defense in my fantasy league, and I've lost every game so far.
They've been very disappointing, actually, to start the year. Yeah,
we'll start there.
It's good for this matchup in England, so we'll see.
Yeah. Anyway, Bill's schedule, you mentioned the next few games. We got the Jaguars, London. Everyone knows that. I got Sunday Night Football against the Giants, which, last night on Monday Night Football, they looked horrible.
Yes, brutal.
Very concerning about the Giants. They're at New England, October 22nd. And then the Buccaneers travel to the Bills on Thursday night. So yes, not a real tough schedule, but again, when you're sitting at the top, everyone targets you. You never know how those games will go. But it seems like the Bills could be in a very good position in the next 4 weeks. Kansas City, the race is on, right? So let's get into Kansas City a little bit. They have the Vikings this weekend at 4. Then they go Thursday night football. The Broncos travel to Kansas City. Then they have the Chargers Chiefs, which is always a tough game. Chargers Chiefs in Kansas City is always a good game. And then the Chiefs travel to Denver, and that'd be the next 4. And then they have Miami after that. So it looks like in London.
there's some good matchups there, but advantage Kansas City in most of those situations, right? They did not look great versus the Jets. They did not, right? But I think every team is allowed that one lull before they get back into the action. Maybe this Taylor Swift thing will become a big distraction and they'll start losing games, and praise be if that happens. But I expect that they will be favorites in each of those matchups that you mentioned. So that being said, they could still lose a couple of those games, which would benefit the Bills, certainly. Okay. But I'm not banking on that happening. Yeah. Let's put it that way.
Right. And another thing we didn't talk about is Miami's still going to be there. Just because they took this major loss does not mean they're out of it. There's still a chance they could win the AFC East, right? Let's be real. Their next 4 games, they have the Giants this weekend, Panthers after that, at Philly, looks like a tough game, and then they play New England in Miami, which New England has a really good record in Miami. And then we see Dolphins Chiefs, which would be a really great game.
I think so too. Yeah, those are dynamic matchups, some of those. Even the Patriots one, even though, again, Miami will probably be favored, they always play each other tough, right? So that one's going to be close again, despite New England's struggles lately as well.
For sure. So, all right, let's move on. We'll definitely keep an eye on the number 1 seed because we can do
advantage
things like
Bills
that.
Right now.
Let's get into your bets.
Ooh-wee!
Pick 6 recap. Best
hot
bets
in here,
of week 4.
Is it hot in here, Eric? Because we had a fire week. Me personally, this was the most money I've won betting in a long time on sports. So I'm happy about that. Not my biggest individual wager, but every game I bet pretty much won. I almost won a 7-way parlay. New Orleans blew that one for me. But it was a 5-1-1 week. So the one tie was the Broncos -3 or -3.5, depending on how you had it. That
what
would
a game
loss,
this was, though, huh?
Yeah, epic back and forth here. They were down by 20 something in the 28, was it, in the first half? And I was like, this game looks ugly. And the Broncos were able to, take advantage of that terrible defense and come back and make it a respectable game.
Right.
But
Justin Fields 4 touchdowns in this game. So
unbelievable.
Early on, you thought it was like, it's finally here, right?
18 for 18 with 4 touchdowns. And then, he had a couple of bad plays, and that led to good defensive plays for the Broncos in the second half that helped them to come back in this one. But thankfully, at least for my record, they did. And it was, we were both picked the Broncos with the points there, I think. Did you pick Chicago? I picked the Broncos.
I picked Chicago. Because remember, I was talking about how everyone's down on them. Everyone thinks they're a complete disaster. There's
right.
jokes all over the internet.
Right.
I mean, that's what motivates teams. It's the NFL,
they did look good.
Right. They did. And they came out and they played that way. But the Broncos just played better because the Broncos were in the same exact situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going to be laughed out of town. Everyone's talking about Caleb Williams to Denver, right? So,
yeah.
This is a good game in that sense to see the bounce
True,
back.
True.
Yeah. So this
not
was
a
your
good
tie.
game to watch again, but yep. Go ahead. Next one.
There we go.
Here we go. My favorite, right? This was one that, again, I bet personally, just heads up, and I picked in this one, I picked Houston to win straight up because it was better odds. So I left the 3 points on the table and I took Houston to win straight up. Now here, obviously, I had +3, which was phenomenal. And I definitely took that as well. Houston pounded these Steelers, absolutely beat them into oblivion. And it was amazing to see because that team, as I said, completely starting to click on offense with CJ Stroud. They have so many veteran weapons that he's able to use there. They're better on defense. The Steelers had nothing going for them in a positive way that continued in this game. So props to Houston for getting me the win. I've been on Houston pretty much every week.
Yeah.
So
and the quarterback looks good. You've seen a lot from CJ Stroud at this point.
Somebody said that they were going to be good this year and finish second in their division.
Yeah.
If only.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it could have went either way. And I thought the Steelers with a second-year quarterback and the good defense, I thought we'd see something there, but no. Steelers are in big trouble. All right, next one. Raiders at Chargers.
Man, this one made me nervous because at the end of the game, the Chargers were really going to give up another touchdown that would have not been a minus 5.5 victory. So I was like, no, don't give up a field goal or more points. Luckily, they got an interception and then ran out the clock, and the game was over. So they did win by a touchdown, which was a victory because this one definitely was on a lot of my parlays. So yeah, gotta love that one too.
Forgot we had the old check mark there.
There you go. Give me that check. It was a great week collecting here. This was my big loss of the week, right? New England at Dallas. I took New England -7 or +7. I mean, the graphic was wrong on this one. I thought it was going to be a close game. I figured New England's defense would hold Dallas. I was mostly right on that sense, but their offense was absolutely atrocious. Mac Jones, oh my God. I mean, Bill Belichick, as much as I like seeing Bill Belichick squirm on the sidelines and be so angry. And I thought he should have gone to Bailey Zappi earlier, to be honest, but he didn't until the fourth quarter.
Mac Jones you got to start asking questions about him.
Horrendous.
Right?
It was bad.
Well, they're trying to play 2005 football, and it's 2023 now. So, but Dallas looking dominant once again, firing on all cylinders. Micah Parsons doing his thing. They look to be a good team this year, and that Philadelphia Dallas game is going to be a good one.
Absolutely.
All right, the Rams at the Colts.
Ooh, this was another one that I was very high on, and I said I expect the Rams to win. They're coming in hot. There was a lot of hype around Indy, but I wasn't believing it. The Rams didn't even play up to their potential yet. They don't even have Cooper Kupp back yet. They're playing very well, and so far they're the surprise team for me this season that could make the playoffs and make a run even with being almost in rebuild mode, right? But this game was great to watch. Indy did make a comeback toward the end that was making me nervous, but the Rams hold on to the victory and give me another check for this week. So my parlays that I did, my parlays were hitting this week. So those are the ones that pay out a lot more because you're compounding the odds, right? And that definitely was one that paid off for me.
Okay, and the last one.
My number one bet. This was one I got some pushback from my brother who's a Giants fan and other Giants fans saying, you know what, we're going to win this one, and it's, Giants are going to do well, and you don't understand that Geno Smith has never won traveling this far on the road. And, well, it was not even close of a game, right? The Giants look like absolute garbage, only got 3 points. Daniel Jones had a really rough day, just getting crushed out there, and throwing interceptions.
Right. Oh, man, they're not
you can't win with no offensive line. It looked like a sieve could have blocked better out there. That
was an atrocious performance.
Yes.
Right? It was bad.
And kudos to the Seahawks. They were able to do their thing and hang in there and just, they didn't do anything overly impressive, but the defensive line obviously getting through was impressive. But, they did their thing and they got the points they needed. And
they're running back.
Easy victory.
Yeah, they have good running game. And how about Devin Witherspoon?
Yeah.
Top 5 cornerback out of Illinois. Almost had a 100-yard interception return for a touchdown.
Yeah,
man,
beautiful.
Yeah, looks like he's working out in the NFL, right? Big corner.
Yes, and these, again, living up to the fact of why they were my number one pick of the week, for sure.
All right, that's it. So what was the final record there? 5-1-1?
5-1-1. So that brings my record on the season to 17-9-2. That's insane, folks. That is absolutely insane. That's like what is it, 64 win percentage? That for this time of year, I guarantee you that is one of the best you will see anywhere. So please tune in for our picks and follow along with me because we've started hot again this year. Again, I have 3 years of track record to show for it, but this year we're starting out great again.
Right. So off to a good start for sure. Definitely we'll have the best bets of the week every single week on Thursdays, and we'll get you ready for week 5 coming up this Thursday.
That's right.
Be sure to look out for it on our YouTube channel. You can find the links on Twitter. You can find the links on Facebook, all the major podcast platforms. Okay, next one, division winners outlook. We made our picks for who would win the division. Well, here we are through 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So just want to take a little peek. I'm not going to criticize too hard. It's only 4 weeks. But just going to take a little dip into this, right?
I like
Just see how we're doing. So let's start with the AFC East. You had Buffalo, Miami, the Jets, and then New England at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
standing by it. I
think that's maybe New England, New York could flip around. But definitely we'll be paying attention. I had Buffalo, New York, Miami, and New England.
Assuming that you're going to put Miami ahead at least of the Jets now.
Right. Well, this is preseason prediction,
right.
so it's they're locked in.
Content. Yeah.
But a lot of games left, right? Looks like Zach Wilson could be figuring it out.
You got me there. That was good.
But hey, we saw a couple completions that looked like a real quarterback.
A couple completions, period. He got a couple of completions.
Right. Well, the Jets for real though, they don't need to do a lot.
They don't. Their defense is very good. Yes.
But you got to do something.
They're going to get wins. Don't get me wrong. They're going to beat teams that they shouldn't. So it's
so that's up in the air. But it looks like I'm going to be wrong and you're going to be right. Miami's going to run away with that. Okay. AFC West. You had Kansas City, the Los Angeles Chargers, Denver, and then Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
I had the same, except Las Vegas and Denver were flipped. I had Denver at the last and Vegas. I mean, it looks like
you're looking better there. Yeah.
Well, I just think that, Sean Payton's going to get a couple wins out of Denver. And I don't think Josh McDaniels is going to get a couple.
We'll see.
So.
That's falling apart completely in Oakland or in Vegas.
But I was high on the Chargers, and which we'll get into, but still finishing second. All right. AFC North, you had Cincinnati, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland last. A lot of season left. Cincinnati, not looking great. Cleveland, looking better than we thought. I had Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pittsburgh at the bottom.
I would push back and say Cleveland is doing exactly how I thought they would, right? That they are scrappy, that they would be in games. And I even said I didn't like picking them last, but the rest of the teams in the division I like better.
It's a very tough division.
Pittsburgh will probably end up finishing last, it looks like now. But I still don't know if Cleveland is going to, if the Bengals at least show up to the season soon, Burrow's injury, all of the stuff that's going on there. I don't expect the Browns
Higgins
to
now injured
make the
too.
play.
I mean,
they could be moving up, but that division is wild, and we talked about that. Anybody can finish anywhere in that division, and wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, that's a good point. I do think we're both a little low on Cleveland. They could sneak into the second spot here, but we'll definitely keep an eye on it. But through 4 weeks, that's what it's looking like to me.
Right.
Pittsburgh's got major problems, and Cincinnati's got problems. You think they'll correct it, but right now we've identified problems. Right?
Cincinnati has the talent to overcome their problems. I'm not so sure that Pittsburgh does.
Fair. Okay, AFC South, Jacksonville, Houston, Tennessee, and the Colts is your lineup. Mine was Jacksonville, Tennessee, Indianapolis, Houston. Again, you're high on Houston for the right reasons. I thought they would take a little time with the quarterback to get up to speed. I thought maybe Anthony Richardson would make more plays, but it looks like CJ Stroud's a real deal.
Exactly. 300 yards. I just read something. He's he's one of 5 quarterbacks to ever go through 4 games with no interceptions and 300 yards. He's off to a great start. And
an Ohio State quarterback. So this is folks, there's disruption happening here. And then Tennessee, you just don't know what team you're going to get. If Derrick Henry's touching the ball, more than anybody else, you'll probably have a good result. But if Tannehill's touching the ball more than other people, you're going to have
inconsistency will not breed success. So I do expect them to go through more turbulence.
Right. And we said Jacksonville not looking like the more dominant team. We didn't think they'd be completely dominant, but more dominant than what they've looked like.
Sure.
So I'd say no conclusions can be drawn.
Not a season yet. Right.
Flipping over to the NFC quickly, Anthony, you had Philly, the Giants, Dallas, and Washington was your lineup.
That one looks ugly now. Yeah, the Giants look like the worst team in that division right now.
Yes.
So yeah,
a lot of season left, but Dallas is definitely looking better than we had thought out the gate here. So then I had Philly, Dallas, the Giants, and then Washington. I think if I'm looking back, I'd leave Philly and Dallas. I think that's going to be close.
Sure.
But definitely Washington above the Giants at this point through 4 weeks.
Yeah, playing better.
But a lot of season left. But those are the conclusions I think you can draw after 4 weeks. All right. NFC North, you had Minnesota, Detroit, Chicago, Green Bay finishing last. I had Minnesota, Green Bay, Detroit, Chicago.
How are those Packers looking?
Well,
like they're supposed to finish in last place where they belong.
The The Packers look pretty good. Quarterback's a little lost at times. And why aren't you using your weapons? Aaron Jones, I know he's been injured. I know Christian Watson's been injured. But when they put a full team together, they're not a bad. I think they're going to be a good team. If the quarterback can hold up. I mean, we don't really know what Jordan Love is.
Sure, and the problem is they have to face tough teams in their own division, right? You got two quarterbacks who absolutely know what they're doing in that division, and so you're going to be third fiddle always.
Yeah,
and
certainly the
Bears.
Hot.
We'll see how they turn out. It's certainly looking more like a crash and burn situation for them right now, but
sure,
we'll see.
Yeah, and looking at it now through 4 weeks, I would probably put Detroit higher. But again, a lot of season left. All right, 2 more divisions here. We got the NFC South up first. You had the Saints, Falcons, Panthers, Buccaneers. You don't have to say it. Don't say it. We know Baker Mayfield plays for Tampa and they're 3-1. I know. Don't have to say it. I had New Orleans, Atlanta, Tampa, Carolina. And a lot of the conversations we had about this division was the quarterback play. What's Derek Carr going to be?
Sure.
What's Desmond Ridder going to be? How's Baker going to play? And is Bryce Young everything that he's been hyped up to be? Right. And there's no more quarterback questions than in this division. Right.
Yeah.
And I think how the teams finish
still so
will come down to who's playing well and who's not.
Correct.
And right now, it's Tampa Bay right now.
It is. That's true. I don't think Derek Carr is clicking yet. I mean, obviously he isn't, right, in that offense. He will. And when he does, they'll start winning more games. You already know my opinion on Baker, but you got to get your flowers too, right? I told you were crazy for picking the Bucks to beat New Orleans.
You yelled,
and they crushed them. Yeah.
Right.
So
but
you get the props and loss on me. So whatever it is about him. But I fully trust that Baker will be Baker before the end of the season. So we'll see how that one works.
He's in a very good position.
He is.
Run game
He's
needs
doing
a little
well.
work.
I'm not going to.
Is it sustainable? Don't know.
Yeah.
But I think his style of play fits Chris Godwin and it fits Mike Evans' style.
Sure.
Right? And as long as they can stay healthy, they got a chance.
And we just talked about the weakness in this division, right? The quarterbacks, if he's the one who remains steady, that's going to bode well for that team.
Right. And I'd say if all quarterbacks were playing decent, I think Atlanta would be the team to talk about.
Exactly. Yeah.
But they seem to be the only one with problems, right? And Bryce Young, obviously, we don't know. Haven't seen a lot, really. But Atlanta's got the better roster, but just the quarterback play has not been there to this point. And let's go into the last division here, the NFC West. San Francisco, Seattle, Los Angeles Rams, and the Cardinals were your picks. Mine was Seattle, San Francisco, the Rams, and Arizona. So we're both on Arizona being last. The Rams they've been in games.
Very good. Like we said, yeah. They're better than most people know.
The division's really tough. San Francisco, obviously, top 3 team in the NFL right now. And then Seattle, always going to be tough. They seem to be getting better every single year. They have, 15-some rookies on the roster. They said the game last night. So, I mean, and they have more picks next year. So, I think the Seattle Seahawks are just going to keep building. And they seem to be getting better as they go on. And as long as Brock Purdy's healthy, San Francisco looks like a tough team to beat. And I'll say as long as Christian McCaffrey stays healthy as well, they're going to be tough to beat, right?
Agreed.
So, again, this one's pretty much gridlocked. We already picked Arizona to be last, so we can't really draw conclusions.
And Seattle looks more like a playoff team than the Rams, although I'm not opposed to saying the Rams would boost out one of those other NFC playoff teams if possible.
Yeah, it's a good point too. So that's our picks. We'll check in every few weeks, but that's where we are right now. And we got London game this weekend.
Yes, gotta love it.
Would you go to London for a game?
I would. I totally would, but I couldn't make that happen this year for many reasons, but financially and otherwise. But I think my expectation at the beginning of the year, I had this game circled and I said, you know what? This is a loss. This is a vulnerable situation. Every advantage. This is a home game for Buffalo, which is terrible because we're in Jacksonville's home, really. They've been there a week long before us, right? They're comfortable. They've been practicing. They're in their routine. They're in the time zone. It's every disadvantage to the Bills going into this game. However, what we've seen so far from the Bills roster, they look phenomenally better than where the Jaguars roster looks right now. They have not played up to their ability. even in this Falcons game where I was able to watch the entire game, it was basically like a scouting game for me. I did not like what I saw out of the Jags. And what I saw was the Bills are not going to let this fly. This is not going to be good enough in Buffalo, right? Or playing Buffalo. So I hope that that's the case and that the jet lag and the situation and everything else doesn't throw the Bills off as much, because we've never seen our team have to deal with something like that, and a Sean McDermott team have to deal with something major like this. So we'll see how that alters the focus going into the game. That's my biggest concern. But fully my expectations are that the Bills will win this game now. It totally changed from what preseason was to going into this game now. There's an expectation that the Bills are playing right now at a very high level, and the Jags, although they're playing okay, they're not quite at that high level. Now, maybe this is the game that the Jags come out and play their best and the Bills falter a little bit, but I am not expecting that to happen.
Yeah, so the Bills head to London on Thursday, according to Sean McDermott. It's a 5-hour time difference, so if they get there at 8 p.m., it's 1 a.m. in London.
Yeah, brutal.
So I think that's the right move, though. Get there early. 5 hours is not horrible, I guess, but not ideal. But I think they'll be ready to play football on Sunday, whereas the Jaguars are staying in London for the whole week.
Adjusted already.
Yeah. We'll see how that impacts everything. Going to be a good game. I mean, right now Buffalo looks well put together and unstoppable, and the Jaguars still trying to figure it out. But we've seen this team, beat Buffalo before. The 6-3 game 2 seasons ago just catches you off guard sometimes, right? So
yes,
Jaguars do have a lot of talented people on the roster, and I think a lot of people they're going to the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely, right? They're going to win that division. So
yeah. So there's that. Trevor Lawrence still waiting to see that big game, the ooh and ah game, right? So we haven't really seen it yet, but Calvin Ridley looks like a threat for them. Be interesting to pay attention to. But tune in Thursday as we get you ready for all the games. But we'll dive deep into the Bills game, and we'll get ready for Week 5 preview show.
Let's go.
Yeah,
in London, baby.
That's pretty good.
That was more Sherlock
like
Holmes,
Powers.
maybe. Yeah, I'll take that one. I'll take that one for sure.
But yeah, thanks for tuning in with us, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for kicking it with us.